Behavioral interview questions are some of the more challenging interview questions you will get as a candidate. And with FedEx, well, it's no different. Welcome to video 2 of the How to Get a Job with FedEx playlist. In today's video, I'm going to give you some of the specific behavioral interview questions that FedEx asked during their interview. I'm going to tell you what they are, give you a formula on how to answer them, and teach you exactly what you need to say in order to pass the interview and get the job. Now, at the very end of this video, I'm going to tee up the third video in the series right here, so make sure you watch to the end and seamlessly go to the next one. And if this is the first video you're seeing, make sure you go back to the playlist and watch the other videos. All right, with that being said, let's go. Now, first things first, what is a behavioral interview question? A behavioral interview question is any question where they prompt you to recall an experience in your past and walk them through exactly what you did and how you handled the situation. Now, a dead giveaway that you're being asked one of these questions is they start with, can you tell me about a time when? Or give me an example of a time when. But basically something prompting you to recall something in your past. Now, the best way to answer these questions, well, it's using the STAR method. That stands for situation, task, action, and result. What was the situation? What was the job? What was your function? Task, what specifically did you encounter from a situation perspective? What did you need to do? Action, what was your specific action in result to the stimuli that you had been presented, and result? What was the outcome of everything that you did? And it's basically a framework to walk them through these questions and walk them through the answers. All right, so let's get into some specifics, specific interview questions that FedEx asked during the interview, and I'll teach you from a recruiter's perspective exactly what you need to say to pass them. By the way, before we get into that, do me a favor, if you're finding value in this video, hit that like button. It really helps the channel, tells YouTube I don't suck, and it motivates me to make more videos. Now, the first question is, describe a time where you successfully resolved a conflict with a customer or a coworker. Now, there's a few things here. You want to make sure you use the STAR method, situation, task, action, result, but it's also really important that the conflict you use in this example isn't something that is a really big deal. It can't be something where you did something inappropriate or you acted out of line. It should be something that's more of a civil disagreement, like, oh, I think we should do this. Well, I think it would be better if we did this, right? A little situation like that, which wouldn't put you in a bad light in terms of are you a good teammate or not, and doesn't make you look unreasonable, right? An example like, oh, I had a way I wanted to go about doing something, and my coworker, well, they had a different approach or a different way of solving the issue, and we talked about it and resolved the issue. That's a great example. If it was, I walked in the office and one of my coworkers was late, so I threw a stapler at their head, and then we got over it, that's not a good example. It makes you look dangerous, and it makes you look like you are careless with staplers. You don't want that. So my key here on answering this question is make sure it's something where it's not that big of a deal, right? You had a difference of opinion, a difference of strategy, but wasn't anything that was an actual fight. In the example, it's important that you talk to them. You heard them out, you understood their perspective, you shared what you thought, and then you came to a mutual agreement and you ended in an amicable way. You need to walk them through an example like this. Now, I can't give you an exact example because it's got to be something from your background and your history, but make sure it checks those boxes. Otherwise, you might come off looking as an unreasonable person or a bad teammate. The next question is, describe a time where you needed to make a critical decision quickly and what was the outcome? Great question, right? They're trying to identify how you do under pressure, and specifically your decision-making ability under pressure. So what you want to do here is lay the groundwork, give them the situation, talk about the task, what were you specifically doing, and then give them the question or the issue that came up in which you need to make a split call. What you want to do in this example is when you're talking about action, is walking them through your thought process, how you process information, how you're able to go through a checklist in your mind of what needs to be done, and then make a decision that was the best possible way to do it. Now, it's important that you really focus on outcome here. What was the result, right? You need to talk them through, well, here's what happened. I had the split decision. I evaluated both fully in a well-mannered way and, in a way that's well-balanced and reasonable. I determined that this was the priority, so this is what I did. And what ended up happening was blank. And it needs to be positive. It's also important that when you're going through this question, they understand that you have a level of comfort of dealing with stuff like this. Because the reality is, when a company asks you a question like this, it's likely because in their organization, you are going to deal with situations like this. You're going to have to make split decisions. And when they're listening to you and they're hearing your answer, they sense that it stressed you out and you don't function well in these type of situations, it might make them wary about your fit for the role because clearly this is something that this person's going to have to deal with frequently. The next question is, describe a time where you led a team to accomplish its goals and objectives. This is a really interesting question because there's so many layers here. Like, first and foremost, they're trying to understand, are you a good leader, and are you able to articulate the project you were in charge of or the vision that you had, right? It's really important that you can lay out the strategy and how you did this. When they ask questions like this, it's really important that you familiarize yourself with the details, because it's very common that they'll ask you a follow-up question. Oh, okay, how long did this process take? What did you learn in this situation? Is there anything you would change if you had to do it over again? Did you manage a team that you were in charge of, or was it a cross-functional team where you had to direct the efforts of people who didn't report directly into you? So it's really important not to make this up. Have a real example and familiarize yourself with the little details that might come in secondary questions. It's also really important that when you're giving your answer, they sense that you embrace leadership, you're motivated by it, and you liked doing it. It's really key that they get that, right? Because the outcome here can't be just you finished a project. It's that you're the type of person who can lead others and is attracted to the role of leadership. I also think this is a great question to be giving credit to other people in the process too. And what I mean by that is not just saying, I had a project, I told everyone what to do, I had a really great strategy, and I led their actions so that we achieved our outcome. You definitely want to come off as a leader. So you want to talk about, you were in charge of something and what you determined was important to make sure you achieved blank, but also give them credit, and saying something along the lines of, that was a really great team, and for me, it was such a joy to be able to lead them because they were all really motivated to achieve the goal collectively. So that made it really great to lead that type of project. And what I'm getting at there is it's really important not to come off as someone who just takes all the credit and it makes it all about them. Really great leaders also make it about the people they led, and they give credit where credit's due. So it's a good opportunity to use the STAR method: situation, task, action, result, but also display your passion for leadership, your strategy in talking through how to achieve an outcome, and your ability to share credit with the great people that you worked with that makes you come off as a really strong leader and a good teammate. This next question is a classic. Give me an example of a time where you went above and beyond to exceed a customer's expectations. Now, it's really important that you do a few things here. Whenever they ask you to go above and beyond, it's important that your example truly does go above and beyond. It can't just be what you're doing, right? If I'm a recruiter, I can't say, oh, I had a really hard role to recruit on, so I recruited on it, I found some good candidates, and they ended up hiring a person. Well, that's great. It's not above and beyond. That's the job. So your example needs to have you doing something that's outside of the job description, outside of normal working hours, above and beyond the expectations for the role. And if you fail to do that, you fail to answer the question. Now, when you're doing this, make sure that they understand through your answer you were happy to do this. You're the type of person who is willing to go above and beyond because you understand how important it is to achieve a positive outcome. So make sure you are enthusiastic, make sure what your answer is, your example is clearly above and beyond, and then you want to talk about how the customer became a huge advocate, right? They were really happy with the outcome. And what you did, you going above and beyond, well, you achieved your goal and they were thrilled with the outcome of your assistance and you helping them. And if you can do those things, you're going to answer the question great. Now, one of the most important questions you're going to get asked as a candidate is, why do you want to work here? Why do you want to work at FedEx? And it's probably the most important question you're going to get asked in a job interview. It's so important, in fact, that I made a whole video dedicated to answer it. It's the next video in the series, and in this video, I'm actually going to give you several different options on how you can answer this question to clearly stand out as the best candidate for the job. So I'm done here, but I will see you over there.